This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings. Online at madeformorerealty.com.
So we are back with Mark Mazotti with Lister Real Estate Services in Northern California. And I meant to cover this in the previous segment, but we got distracted talking about some great stuff about ADUs and how people can leverage that into investing in real estate and creating wealth for their family. But what do you see the home market doing in the next 6 to 12-ish months? Like, is it going to be good, bad?
Well, first of all, let me share one belief that is a core belief. Whenever you can afford to buy a house, regardless of what the news, the media, the recession's here, the depression's here, we have a great, robust economy, regardless of what they're telling you there, when you're in a position that you're able to afford the payments, buy the house. Now, I can tell you Dave Ramsey says that, Susie Ortman says that, and I absolutely believe from their perspective, they're 100% right. I don't agree with everything they say, but when it comes to buying real estate, it's absolutely correct because the game's rigged. So as soon as you can get into the game, you're going to be a part of letting that equity grow so you can move, step up or step down over time, depending upon what your needs are based on your life cycle. So what's going to happen in California? Well, we're not going to see huge price drops across the board. What we're going to see is kind of what I would call a little sputtering, a little bit of markets. If it's a turnkey property, it's still going to sell. It's going to sell high market value. If it's a fixer, you may be looking at a 2 to a 3% discount off of, the listing price to actual sold prices for comparables. I mean, I've been looking at most of the percentages of list price to sale price, and it's within 1% to 2% above right now in median. Okay. 2 years ago, there was nothing below and everything was far above.
It was wild.
It was wild. So we're seeing that stabilization in terms of buyers are having challenges qualifying because now they're at 6 to 7% interest rates as opposed to where they were in the past. And by the way, don't wait for them to come down. By the
Why
time,
not?
If you sit to wait for them to come down, they may come down, but you're going to have more competition of people who are going to come back into the market. It's going to drive multiple offers back into a frenzy. And asking price and sales price is going to go back to way above. It goes back to, again, if you can afford to buy it, get into it. This isn't flip this house. Okay? So if you're going into real estate thinking that it's like, what you see on cable TV, okay, it's not even close. It's an alternate reality or an alternate form of belief television. It's entertainment. Get the facts from somebody who knows, not somebody who just does this part-time.
And it's a long-term play. Like if I see a lot of people go, oh, I don't want to start here or I don't want to begin there. I want my forever home, my first home to be my forever home. Well, that's really hard to pull off. You got to start somewhere. And so maybe you start, with like what Valor and I did the first house we had. We lived in the main house, rented out the ADU. Next house we lived in one unit. It was a triplex. And we lived in one unit, rented out the other 2 units. And then you just kind of go from there. But like you say, get in the game. Don't sit on the sidelines.
And what we're seeing now in some of the marketplaces where the prices are not quite as reasonable as you get closer to the hub of San Francisco.
Yeah.
We're seeing triplexes go similar to a tenancy in common. 3 people or 2 people on a duplex buying half of each of the unit. Now, you will need to have legal forms beyond what your real estate agent can probably do. So with those, you will need a real estate attorney because you're talking about equity sharing and things like that.
Yeah.
But certainly that's another way. And here's something that's really smart. If you want to go back and you really are a good young investor, you buy the triplex that has land. Because guess what? You can put ADUs on triplex land too.
Oh, that's really smart.
So now you not only live in one, you got revenue on 2, and you can put an ADU on it, which is 3. When you move out, now you got 4 incomes instead of just the 3.
And then you can throw a washer and dryer in there, collect some revenue, got your own little laundromat going. That's what we have.
Buy 2 lots together, and now you have a little community, and you could do HOAs and all those horrible things that come with HOAs.
Oh yeah, people
stuff.
hate HOAs. But basically, so in the short term, you see the market staying, relatively strong. In the long term, it's a guaranteed thing, for lack of a better term.
In Northern California and Southern California right now, we cannot supply the demand. Okay, people talk constantly about, there's this mass exodus of people leaving.
Yeah.
There is a rescission of where there is a significant portion of them coming back. But when people talk about immigration to California, the first thing they think about is what's coming across our southern borders. And they're forgetting that that's not really where the massive numbers are coming from by themselves. Well, where else are big numbers of immigrants coming from? India and the Pacific Rim. They forget about Silicon Valley, and they forget about the technology worlds, the medical worlds, and so forth. Remember, India is the biggest country in terms of population in the world. So the people coming into California are still exceeding what housing is available to them, and that number's growing.
You bring up a good point, because, here in Sacramento, there's a huge Slavic community. They didn't walk across the border.
No.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So you see all of this coming, and the numbers are there that housing is still going to be a shortage for at least the next 10 years that I can estimate, because you can't rebuild. You can't build it 3 times, because where are you going to get the infrastructure from?
Yeah.
Well, we've got all these forests. Where's all the mills? How about the trucks to get them to the lumber mills, to the lumber yards? Or what about tariffs? Because most of this lumber comes from Canada now.
Or even just thinking like Roseville, like West Roseville, where are the grocery stores? There's a lot of houses out there, but people aren't necessarily wanting to purchase out there because of the amenities. They have to drive 15, 20 minutes into town to get what they want.
Exactly.
And so even if you do expand, there's all this other growth that has to take place. So you're right. So big classic supply and demand. There's going to be a lot of demand for the foreseeable future. So if you can afford it, your suggestion is to buy the house.
That's right. And there's 2 things I want to talk about in affordability. Let's talk about how first-time home buyers can look at affording.
Yes.
And then let's talk about investors, how they can figure out how to become investors in real estate.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it. First-time home buyers.
Okay. First-time home buyers, all they want is the dream. Yes, they have their wishes, but they are so motivated for the dream that they follow directions fairly well most times.
They listen.
Okay? They listen, and then they act. It's like the proverb, a wise man seeks someone with more knowledge, and a fool does nothing with the knowledge. Okay? So go out there and seek the experts, and then let them guide you through the process. Don't think that everything they say is exact 100%, but use that as your advice. Check it out, sleep on it, make sure you feel good about it, and then move forward. Okay? First thing you need to do if you're looking to get and to buy a house is to find somebody who has the mindset I just shared. Why do you do what you do would be a real good question to ask an agent. As a matter of fact, I've asked agents who've come and worked and shared with my teams just to see where their head trip is and where their space is and what they're willing to do. If you were in the middle of a transaction and something happened, unforeseeable, act of God, that meant the only way the transaction would close is that you had to give up 90% of your commission, would you still do the deal to help the party out?
Valerie and I actually just are going through this right now, and it's ongoing, so I don't want to go into too much details. But essentially, we were put in a situation where we're like, hey, we're not going to let the commissions get in the way of you, going through with this transaction and achieving your goals. And as it turned out, I don't think we're going to get paid at all in this transaction. But you're right. Most people would rather blow up the deal. I can't tell you how many times we have agents submit buyer-broker agreements, and they're saying, hey, I want to get paid 3%, 2.5%. I'm not doing anything less than 2.5%. I'm going to take my buyer and go somewhere else. I'm like, man, does the buyer really know that you're talking like this, that they might miss out on this house because you want to make an extra 0.25% or half? Do they? I wish I could just as long as the buyer's cool with it, then that's a different conversation. But it just happens so frequently. I can't believe that the buyers are saying, yes, I'm willing to lose this house so you can get an extra couple $1,000. But you're right. That is a good question to ask your real estate agent.
And to me, it's paramount. Because if, in fact, you know that they're going to do exactly what you do, what I would do, what any agent who is in it to do the right thing for his clients, not self-serving, but for their clients to make their dreams come true, that's what you need to start with. And then from there, your challenges are still going to be there, but your stress levels won't be quite as much because you're going to be educated prior to the stressful times of any escrow transaction.
Correct.
And you're there for the right reason.
If you're asking questions and that real estate agent is failing you, the agent should be answering your questions before you even ask them.
That's right.
Because they're seasoned vets and they know what's coming next.
And the real estate agent should only be talking to you about the questions you've asked. Just saying.
Yeah.
I did this, I did that. Is he in it for him or is he in it for you?
Good point.
Just saying. Look for various different ways as first-time home buyers to find funding. First of all, if you're a vet, you qualify for zero down financing.
I'm surprised how many, there's like a stat out there. Most vets don't know that this benefit exists.
Well, I'm going to tell you something even beyond that, is if you're a fully disabled vet, that you've served your country and you were wounded somewhere within your service, that most counties will give you up to a $250,000 value adjustment from the assessor's office because you're a disabled vet. So you buy a $500,000 house in Solano County, your tax basis for that house, that value starts at $250,000 if you're 100% disabled.
That's good. So let's just say it's just for easy math, the percent. That is, man, what's the math on that? $25,000 a year?
Yeah.
That you're saving in taxes.
Yep.
Wow. That's good. Hopefully,
it's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. That's year one. That's not counting year 2, year 3, year 4.
That's right. And if you buy it in a county like Solano County, you're still under Prop 13 rules. So you only have a certain amount that property taxes can elevate every year.
Wow. Okay, so VA, if you're a vet, we got the VA. What if you're not a veteran?
Well, first of all, you got veterans, 100%. Now you move down to, you can also, if you're a first responder, school teacher, there are also programs that are available with lower down payments. FHA at 3.5%, and conventional now starts at 5% in most companies. There's a big difference, though, and I want to quickly share this with all consumers out there. There's 3 types of lenders. There's retail, wholesale, and correspondent. Retail is when you go to the local bank that you do all your banking with, whether it's Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and you want to get a loan from them. Mortgage is when a broker works on your behalf to find a deal for you, and they are paid a commission for that. And then correspondent is where they write their own paper, create their own matrix guidelines, and sell that paper on to Fannie and Freddie. Okay? Out of all 3 of those, which one, as a seller's representative, do you want to see come across with an offer?
Correspondent.
Exactly. And that's because you know that the deal is going to get done.
Yep.
And if it's a certain bank and you know that it's coming from Southern California and underwriting.
Or Detroit. Yeah.
And now you have more consolidation, which is really worrisome for me, is you've got the consolidation of Redfin being acquired by Rocket Mortgage.
Oh my gosh.
And how that was allowed to pass when you have all this scrutiny on antitrust violations, it baffles me, but it shows you the political clout that banking industry has with politics in general.
It does. Hey, Mark, we're getting short on time. We could talk for hours. I don't know if you're into it, but you never really were. But one of these times, maybe you drink some wine, I'll smoke a cigar, and we got to wrap this up or have you back on the show.
I think both cases work for me.
All right, sounds good. And then if anybody wants to reach out to you, they can go to Lyster, LYSSTER.com. If you're like, hey, who's Mark? Who was that guy on the show? You can always reach out to us. We're happy to connect you with them.
And they can send me an email to naparealestatebroker@gmail.com.
Easy. All right, Mark. Thanks again.
Hey, thanks for having me.